Let's make sure. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start the class. And so we're going to go out of this one. We're going to go to home page. And there we are. So I did something in announcements this morning because I told you guys I would do that. So if you look
saw that, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at announcements, this is, I think, pretty good because here's all the videos in one section, in one place.
Okay.
Starting from the early ones down to the new ones. And it's by topic, so you can look at it. The first one is comparative analysis, second one also. Then we start into the Caravan argument. And then more on that. We did some on research citations last time, and so we'll probably do a little more on that one. So everybody can just click on this. You can speed through it. The first essay, the first video is really long. It's like close to 2 hours because that was the first one. I hadn't had practice. Yeah, but the second one is only like a half an hour, and the others are very short, the part that's recorded. So easier to go, easier to go through. Assignment-wise, I just want to point out something in case, because this is recorded for everybody, is that, so the thing that everybody was supposed to be getting in was this one. We put a due date of April 14th. So today's the 21st, which means you'd be late putting it in. But on this one, let's say, for instance, click on that, and we'll look here. Let's say, for instance, this one needs some things fixed on it. So, so let's say the student decides to rewrite that, and they want to post it. We don't want them to post it here again, because if they post it in this same section, this part 2 comparative analysis complete draft, if they post it there, it'll write over top of this, and none of the
That's what I did.
Yes, and none of the remarks will be available for them. So that would be bad. So what you're going to do is you go to, in this case, the revision part. So we look at assignments. Here's the revision part. And notice nobody's put a revision in because, well, nobody had to yet, I guess. And so the revisions go in here. And again, for people that haven't done it yet, let me see. I'll go here. Push the student view. Go assignments. And then if you were going to post here, your screen looks like this. It says submit. Yeah. And if you click
That's what I did.
Right. So if you click on this, then you're gonna let's click on this, and it's gonna say file upload down here. Choose file. You click on the file you want, and it's gonna post it to that, and you're gonna submit, and that'll be that. Okay. So we're gonna leave student view. We're gonna just go back into my view now.
Okay.
And I wanted to point out something I know I pointed out to you, Shara, but I didn't point out to the other people. Was that if you do look at the paper when you you get your paper and it's marked, if you look at it, when you're over here or over there, it's confusing, but if you stay on the right side over here, that little pointer goes right to where it should be doing. Or you can just click on this for a minute and then go over there, it'll stay. Notice that we're just looking at the word, it needs a word change right there. This little piece here, and again, the arrow will go to it. So I'll click off of that one. Oops, I'll click off of it somewhere. This one right here, if we look at it, goes over to this one. Or if we go there, it points to there. So this would be talking about that particular thing, which is very useful. And so you can go down the whole thing and you can find out, okay, where am I talking about this? Where am I talking about that? And that helps. So
Okay.
yeah, so, okay, so let's see. Today we want to kind of go down to files a bit. And when we look at the files, we get information. And so if you're still working on the comparison contrast, you can click on this one and all the handouts are there. There's some class notes here also if you're still working on that, on the board notes. So some people like that better. Over here, if we're looking at the argument, which is kind of what we're doing right now, we have some peer examples on the bottom. And if we go to the peer examples right there, let's go over this one a little bit. So this guy Zamora at the bottom wrote a pretty good paper, but this is only 2 pages of his paper. If we go up to the top and look at Astrid, and Astrid did a lot of work. She was a very hard worker, but sometimes she overdid, which people can do. So I'm telling her, wow, she's got a great effort, but she's got to organize it. So it's not organized. It's just lots and lots of information. She doesn't have an argument thesis at the end of the paragraph that tells us what her position is. We don't even know if she's, you know, against anybody coming into the country or if she's somewhat thinks, well, but asylum for sure, or something like that. So she doesn't have any of this. And all the way down, she's got 5 pages of just information. So she's worked really hard, but she hasn't organized it in terms of an argument. And I tell her, look at the first 4 pages, it's all background. And after a while, for the reader, it's confusing because you're reading so much. It's too much.
Yeah.
More than what the prompt asked for. So I had to sadly tell her, cut the first 4 pages, only enough to help for the introduction. We just want to know, hey, what's going on with this caravan thing? And then I attached Zamora's essay. And if we look at his and how he organized it, he has a nice hook. And he says, imagine walking 2.6 kilometer miles and realizing you did it for no reason. And he says, this is the exact number of miles the Honduras caravan marched. So this is very interesting. He's setting up a background, and then he's talking about how the U.S. is reacting to it. And then if we keep going, this last sentence, he's taking a position. He's deciding what he thinks about the caravan. And the position is his argument thesis. He says, we as a country can handle this issue by prioritizing and improving the asylum process for immigrants. This is the first paragraph he's going to argue. That's his first reason. And then deploying troops in countries that need help to reduce gang and cartel violence. That's his second claim that he's going to make, that we can help them. And the third one is that helping the countries in need with foreign aid. And so he's going to talk about why we do that. Okay. So very nicely organized. He's using his organization to control how much he has to do. His paragraph is probably half a page, but it's not 5 pages. It's not like poor Astrid. And then he has transition here, just to start it off. He has his topic sentence here, and so he says, okay, I'm going to tell you about prioritizing. So he says, U.S. should prioritize the types of immigrants who are in more severe or drastic conditions. Let them in first. And then he explains why he believes this. And so he has a fact, he has a quote that he introduces. And then he has this woman he's quoting, and she's talking about how the application process makes it really difficult to do it. They've made a really hard process. Sometimes they have to wait 2 years, and so sometimes they just become homeless. So he says this type of treatment is not fitting for any human being, and no one should wait 2 years for a lifesaver. So either give them asylum or don't give them asylum is kind of what he's saying. And then his second thing he wants to talk about is deploying troops. So sending some of the U.S. troops over to the countries where they're violent to reduce the violence from drugs and make them more livable so the people won't come here. If they're not worried about the violence, you know, everybody wants to stay home. So he gives some statistics on how bad it is over there. where he got it from, highest murder rate, all this stuff. This is good information, good evidence.
I was talking to Bruce, right?
And then he talks about the number of troops that were on the mission, and then more information, lots of data in here. And finally, he comes back to his idea. Deploying these troops will allow less drugs to be transported. So he's very good with his claim and the evidence. And then his last one, and by the way, transition lastly, a solution is to help Honduras with more foreign aid. In order to stop this problem, we have to go where it all started. So we kind of know that when you give foreign aid to countries, much cheaper than if they come over here and we try to house them, or we have to build a wall or all that stuff, much cheaper. So the idea is to keep up the foreign aid and make sure that the foreign aid gets spent well so that they have no motivation to come. They stay where they are. Whether the foreign aid is developing businesses or hiring law enforcement or whatever it is to make it so that reasonable so they can live there, that would be what we want to do. And he makes an interesting point. He says federal budgets devoted to poverty was $28.7 billion, which sounds like a lot of money. But he says that's not as much as you think, because Americans spend more on candy, sporting goods, and jewelry than the US government spends on poverty-reducing foreign assistance. That's a really good fact. So it's not as much money as you think. 1% of the US federal government. This is just 1%. So we have the other 99%. And so what he's saying is this will save us money in the long run. And he says it doesn't have to be money. It could be food, water, buildings. So we could, if it's a dry climate, we can help them figure out how can they get water there. Do we need to help them drill wells? Do we need to help with desalination plant? What do we need to do there to help them out? And then his last sentence. Oh, his thing where he says, well,
There's Karen.
okay, so hang on a second. Karen, you got in. Okay, good. I wasn't sure. Let me go back. Okay. So then he has this paragraph. After he has his reasons why we should do this, then he has the other side. So you have to admit, when you're looking at these two sides, do we admit the caravan, or do we keep it out? But there's probably a middle ground. So he says we can't do all of these things he was talking about at once. And it says it's obvious people are not just going to let everybody in the country, or send troops to the poor country, or give them all this foreign aid. However, we can slowly make the process better. And as he says, the problem's not going away. It's only going to get bigger because we, of course, are the country that's well off. And if you're in a poor place and you can walk, even if it's far away, like the one person was walking, what was it, 2,700 miles to get here, or kilometers, right, to get here, they're going to do it. So what we need to do is make their places livable so they won't come here, or won't be as motivated to come here. We have a smaller problem.
But like I said before, unfortunately, yes, U.S. gives so much help to certain countries, but the politicians keep the money.
All right, so maybe you would put that in this paragraph. On the contrary, the problem is that when we give the money, the politicians often keep it. So that would be the other side. Okay, so you would put that there. And then this is to conclude, improving the asylum process. So Zamora finishes it off. He repeats what he says, and then, so that's what he does. Now this one was the first time. He started with a pass. And so this is not his final paper, but it's pretty close to the final paper. So,
oh, wow.
Huh? What? Excuse me?
He went to high pass.
Yeah, he went to high pass. But this isn't the paper that got the high pass. I just marked it for him so he would.
Yeah.
on his paper, so he would know. Okay. And then this one also has a Works Cited page. So that's what your Works Cited is supposed to look like. If you notice, his last name and the number of the page is over here. Works Cited is in the middle, and it's underlined. Here's the name of the place where he got it. The article title was called Asylum. It's the Department of Homeland. This is the person that published it. That's the date. This is the website, and this is the access date. So that's what it looks like when you make a citation. It looks like that. These all look pretty much the same. They're all pretty much the same. So the author, in this case, it's written by these people. The title of the article, the name of the website where you get it from, the date that it was published, or if it says copyrighted, or if it says revised, any of that, the date for it, the website, so we could go find it again if we wanted, and this is the date you accessed it right there. So that's a complete paper. That's what a paper looks like. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about that? How that goes? I mean, that's a
No,
good
I
model.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think you did explain that to us last class, right?
I did, but see,
On the
I'm
Works
putting it all
Cited.
together. Yeah, but you won't remember.
But it's in
Repeating
the
helps, so you
recording,
remember.
right?
True, but here we go again. Okay, so let me finish this part. Let's do this. Okay, and then to show you, there's some
I
other
took
papers.
pictures.
Oh, good for you. So there's some other
Yes, I
pictures.
did.
Yeah. So there's some other papers here that you can also look at. It's not just those two. There's some more papers.
Okay.
And then if we click on this one, we're going to see that this chapter explains to you what an argument is. So some people confuse a statement and argument. This one is where you take a position. You have to say it's good or bad, it's right or wrong. And then you have to provide your reasons for it and the evidence for that. Okay. So let's see. So that's an example if you wanted to look at it. If you look at this one, here's actually an argument, and it's a have to do with the comment. It says, the costs of an education are too high. So here you have the subject, the costs of an education, and you have a judgment, it's too high. And then you're going to have to present your reasons. Why is it too high? That would be your essay. Okay. And it's better in the middle of your thesis sentence, which is your last sentence in the paragraph, to put what's called a qualifier. So this, in this case, it said young people should or should not be required, because this is not a fact. So it's better to give yourself a little what they call wiggle room, which means that you can kind of cover both sides when you say it like this. The way you think of an argument is you imagine that you're in a position with someone who disagrees. They don't agree with you. And so you think of what your reasons are, and then you think, well, what would they say? You imagine how it affects you personally, and you realize, or you think that, you know what, I'm probably representing a large group of people who think like I do. How do I do this? Okay, and here, here's the issue. This is a pretty good sentence. The issue, daycare facilities, the qualifier should be provided, should be provided is your position, and then at a low cost, should be provided at a low cost to employees. That's your whole, that's your position, all of this. Okay, and the qualifiers are the must-have, needs, could, requires, things like this. These are called qualifiers. Okay. Then you put your reasons and evidence in body paragraphs, which should be facts, maybe examples. Expert opinions are excellent. You can do that. So in terms of the structure, it's not too difficult to be thinking about. Okay. All right. So we've kind of covered what an argument was. I think maybe we want to review the two sides a little bit. And the way you kind of start your argument is you decide, okay, I have these two articles. One is against it, one is supporting it. And you're going to read that. Excuse me. And when you read it, you write down, when you read the one article, why would I agree with this person? You write that down. And then, excuse me, you wait a minute and you think, well, why would I disagree with this person? And you write that down. And then you read the other article and you say, okay, I read this article. Why would I agree with them? And you write that down. And then you write down, why would I disagree with that person? And you write that down. When you do that, you have a pretty good sense of where you actually stand in that. And then you have to look at the things that you wrote for each article and decide, okay, where do I really feel I situate myself? Take that position. And then what you now know is that the things that you felt that you disagreed with would be your other side. So those are the things that you would be thinking the other side would say. Okay. So let's look at those articles that you're going to be looking at as the main articles.
We'll be back.
Oh, here we go. So the main articles are the pro-con and the other pro-con. So if we look at this one, so if you read this one you can look at the title and you see that this person is against the Caravan. He said the Caravan is an effort by the country, Honduras, to bypass immigration laws. That's what it is. They're trying to force themselves in. And so they have their reasons in there. And so you would read this one and you would think about why you agree with them and why you disagree with them. Write that down. And then you go on to this other one. And again, if you look at the title, you can see the position of that person. And this person says, traditional American compassion should be more important than anything else when we look at troops on the border. And this one's arguing that immigration is how this country has always been developed. And so why all of a sudden would we hate immigrants is kind of what it's asking. And then they talk about how politics has gotten into it. So you look at this one and you, again, take that page and you say, okay, what do I agree with on this side and what do I disagree with on this side? And then from those two essays, you're going to figure out what your position is. You're going to figure that out. So those are what we call anchor texts, those two texts. And what you're going to end up doing is taking those two texts, and after your introduction, you're going to write a summary of each one. And then you're going to have 3 body paragraphs where you present your reasons that you support whatever position it is. And then when you finish your 3 reasons, you're going to have another paragraph that says, okay, but I have to think about what the other side is saying. Maybe they have something right. For instance, if you said, well, we should be more compassionate. On the other hand, you're going to say, well, we can't let all these people in. That would be your counter argument. And then the final paragraph will be a conclusion. And that's where you're going to come back to your position. You're going to remind people of what you argued. And then you're going to project. If we don't do what I'm thinking, well, what would happen? All right. So we kind of went through all that stuff. So you kind of have a sense of what the argument looks like, the things you should be looking at. Hello, Julian. How are you? Julian? Hello? Mr. Jimenez, are you there? I know you are. Can you talk? Can you talk? If you can't talk, you can type it in. Okay, so listen, you came in a little late, but what I'm going to do is, this is recorded. If you look down here, recorded. And so what that means is I'm going to post that up, and you'll be able to see everything you missed. Okay. Is Julian gone? Yeah, Julian's gone. Okay.
Yep.
He dipped his toe in the water and he said, no, this is too cold. So he jumped out. Maybe that's what he did. Okay. I think once he found out that he can just listen to the recording, he's not into it anymore. He'll go listen to the recording. Okay, anybody have questions? Does anybody have questions?
No, I'm good.
All right. So what you want to do is, to start the process, read those 2 articles, then consider, you know, what you support in that article, what you don't support in that article. And if you have time, if you're not working on fixing up the other essays, then you might want to look, and I'll show you what that looks like. You might want to look at some of these other resources you've got on there. So we've got all these articles here that you can be looking at that other people have used. So this is a good one. What is the Caravan? Why are these people coming? And so you can take the information out of these other articles and see if this is supporting what you're thinking. Okay. And then there's one that says, well, this is an editorial about it. And it's talking about how we've gotten kind of mean about immigrants, which is, for an immigrant country, sort of two-faced, kind of. And then if we look at this one, this little piece right here, whoops, no, we don't want that one. Let's see if it's that one. Well, this explains the Caravan also, which is good. So that's good background. There's a link on here, which maybe I'm not seeing. Let's try this one. Nope, this again is another article, but if you wanted to, let's see if we can just do this. We're just gonna go to, we're at Google. We're at Google already. So we can type into this immigrant Caravan and see what comes up. Well, look, it would even be better. Let's do 2020 and see what comes up. So here we have some more information about the Caravan and what's going on with that. There's some videos to show you things that are going on. This is taking a position here. There's some more images here. Okay. And we can go to the other pages. If we wanted to talk about how this might relate to immigration from, whoops, or border. Well, let's just do this. Immigration from let's do Central America. Then we're going to see that there's some reasons why these people are coming, and that might add to the information that you're going to be looking at. We could be doing that. We could also do this. Migration trends. We could look at what they're saying, and it's going to talk about, this is good, why they're coming, all that stuff, recent trends. We could talk about cost to United States. It doesn't have it. Okay. Immigration immigration. Think about that. Let's do that one. And we find out that what's interesting is that the 11 million illegal immigrants in the United States are actually paying 11.64 billion in state and local taxes. And if we looked it up, we're going to find out that actually we're making money. We're actually making money on the immigrants, and they have no legal status, which means that they don't get Social Security. They have to pay it, but they won't get it because they're not citizens. So, and the other thing is, so if we looked all this up, we would find that there's some benefits to this. So it's not as bad as they make it. Here's costs and benefits of immigration. So here we go. So this one, this Brookings Institution is a research place, and it's pretty smart. Uh-oh, this is way too long. This looks like a book. Let's get out of that one. 20 pages. If we look at this one, whoops, go down. Where it says your taxpayers' dollars are footing the spiraling costs of illegal immigration. This is a very conservative opinion. So this is almost an argument. This isn't really about how much they're actually what they're giving to the United States. It's not about that at all. So that it's only one. It's a very one-sided. So here's one: the true cost of immigration. So that might be a good one to look at. So there's some stuff you can actually just like look up. And in that way you can find more information about it. Okay, so you guys have questions about that? Kind of the process?
No, Mr.
Sonia,
Horn.
no good. Kareem, how you doing? How's your essays coming, Kareem?
Great.
Hey, okay, we'll put them so I can like look at them. Oh, I scared Sonia off. Did you see she ran away? Run away. Bye-bye. It's okay, I'll get back to her. All right, so I think we pretty much covered what we needed to cover today. Does anybody have any questions about other stuff?
No, I think we have plenty of, you know, like paper or literature to read so we can get our ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then.
And then next time we'll talk about how to organize, how do we organize what you're doing. We did today a little bit, but I want to have a handout for you that we could look at.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so
for me it's easier. Go ahead.
No. Okay, so I'll stop that part of the recording.